Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. Most of the heavy rain has moved out for now, but the flooding threat continues through the end of the week. WIMT's Brandon Robinson has the latest on this severe weather alert day. Brandon?
Steve, the threat has kind of winded down for now, but it was bad enough earlier this morning to lead to some high water issues across parts of the region. Let's take a look at the last few hours on the 6-hour loop of the satellite and radar, and you see some heavy rain move through and move out. So we're going to continue to watch that trend as we go deeper tonight. I did see a little earlier, though, some sunshine trying to peek out in some areas. I was watching Allie's report there at 5 o'clock, and in McGoffin County, a little bit of sunshine trying to peek through. So we're keeping a very close eye on that for potential storm development as we go deeper into the future. Live pinpoint Doppler radar, we are going to see just a few bands trying to build in toward I-64 and down toward the Mountain Parkway there, keeping a close eye on those, but most of us still dry. Flood warning continues for Buchanan and Mingo counties until 9 o'clock. That was that flash flood warning from earlier. Some still high water issues over there, and one for Breathitt, Floyd, Johnson, McGoffin, and parts of Martin and Pike there until 6:30. Parts of all those counties, actually. Mountain Parkway still overcast there near the Wolf-Powell County line. Maybe a little bit of sunshine there at London. We're keeping a close eye on that. US 119, US 23. It is hard to tell. Temperatures there still in the 70s for the most part, but a couple of 80s out there as we head deeper in the forecast, and it is muggy. We'll continue to watch the weather app. That's a good tool to have in your toolkit. Download that. Rain chances will continue not only tonight, but as we head into the day tomorrow. Steve?
Brandon, thank you. The cleanup is already getting underway in parts of eastern Kentucky, hit hard by flash flooding this morning and early this afternoon. Reports out of McGoffin and Floyd counties indicate heavy rain and flooding hit some people very hard and left folks cleaning water out of their homes. David Stumbo says he had some water in his basement, but compared to some of his neighbors, he said he was lucky.
It was about probably 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock this morning, and it is quite full. It's happened a lot of times.
Stumbo says at times the water in the street was up to his knees when he went over to help his neighbors. They are obviously nervous about more heavy rain in the forecast. No injuries have been reported due to today's flash flooding, and we'll have much more from Floyd County coming up tonight at 6. 3 people died in a head-on collision last night in Laurel County. The driver who caused the crash survived. Charges are now pending against him. Officers with the Laurel County Sheriff's Office said 911 received a lot of phone calls about someone going the wrong way north in the southbound lanes. Local and state police tried to intercept, but just as a Toyota Tacoma reached the 38-mile marker, it collided with a Nissan Altima. All 3 inside the Altima, Deshaun Love, Kevin Krigler, and Ilya Dukes, all in their mid-20s, were killed. Love and Krigler were cousins.
These are one of the most catastrophic traffic crashes that you can experience because, number one, you have the interstate speeds, and number 2, you have drivers that are headed in a direction and they're not expecting traffic to be coming toward them.
Police say 21-year-old Joshua Poor was driving the wrong way truck, and he's being treated for serious but non-life-threatening injuries at UK Hospital. We'll also have more on this terrible crash coming up tonight at 6. Russia says it will withdraw from the International Space Station project in 2024 after fulfilling its obligations. That's according to the Kremlin readout of a meeting between the newly appointed head of Roscosmos and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Leaders say after withdrawing from the ISS project, Russia will create its own space station. Russia's withdrawal would be a major blow to the ISS, which has been a model of international cooperation for decades. The announcement comes as Russia's war on Ukraine has deeply strained its relationship with the U.S. and Europe. The European Union has agreed to ration its natural gas this winter to prevent a severe supply shock, but the bloc has watered down its ambitions by offering countries some significant leeway. Today, EU energy ministers agreed to a voluntary target to reduce gas usage by 15% between August and March 2023. That reduction is measured against each country's average gas consumption during the same months over the previous 5 years. The EU Commission first unveiled the 15% target in its Save Gas for a Safe Winter plan last week. which included a proposal for a new law that, if passed, would give it the power to force states to meet mandatory reduction targets in exceptional circumstances. But objections from some countries during the past few days have pushed the bloc to make key concessions, taking into account their varying levels of dependency on gas and levels of storage. 2 state lawmakers talked with the Hazard Perry County Chamber of Commerce today on several topics that impact us here in eastern Kentucky. WYMT's Dakota Makris brings us their discussion.
State Representative Chris Fugit and State Senator Brandon Smith talked to members at the chamber meeting Tuesday morning, focusing on coal jobs, ATV trails, and the Wendell Ford Airport in Perry County.
The ATV trail system in West Virginia, we've seen that they have grown their small coal town counties. Last year, economic impact was $38 million.
State leaders want eastern Kentucky counties to bring in that much money or more. Representative Fugit says 19 counties are on board for the ATV trail system. With ATV use, he says last year, Knott County made $300,000 at its campground.
We want to connect cities to the trail system so people can come down into the cities and eat at restaurants, stay in motels, get gas, stop at the mini marts, and do all that. So
leaders are also working on expanding the runway at Wendell Ford Airport. Senator Brandon Smith called the project critical.
The steps that we have to go to allocate the funding, and then you have to do the buying of the right-of-way and the design, it's really kind of complicated, but this has moved along pretty quickly.
Senator Smith says we are seeing a spike in the demand for coal, saying millions of dollars is going into the coal severance tax.
Looking at our numbers this morning, projected, I think it's $31.9 million for 22-23.
Saying after that money pays for debt services on bonds released in previous years, a large majority will be left over for our counties. In Perry County, Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
Hazard's North Fork Music Festival this past weekend was briefly talked about among chamber members. City officials tell us about 850 people attended the festival. Plans are already underway for North Fork Oktoberfest on October 15th. The state-by-state battle over abortion rights continued in Indiana yesterday. Protesters demonstrated at the State House as lawmakers gathered to consider a bill that would ban nearly all abortions. As CBS's Nancy Chen shows us, the implications go far beyond state lines.
Thousands of demonstrators gathered both inside and outside the Indiana State House on Monday as members of the state's General Assembly met in a special session to discuss a bill that would ban almost all abortions, except in cases of rape, incest, or to protect the mother's life. The protesters were often so loud they drowned out the debates inside the chamber.
I'm just sorry I didn't get all that, Senator Milton.
It's not a man's choice. It's not the government's choice. It's not your church's choice. It's a woman's choice.
Vice President Kamala Harris was also in Indianapolis yesterday, meeting with state and local leaders about protecting reproductive rights.
We are seeing indeed many states, since the Dobbs decision and attempting even before, to criminalize health professionals, to punish women.
Indiana is in the spotlight as the first state since the overturning of Roe to hold a special legislative session aimed at further restricting abortion. And just last month, a 10-year-old rape victim made headlines after crossing state lines from Ohio to have the procedure. But without any new criminal penalties against doctors performing an abortion, the bill's future could be in doubt, as some Republicans argue the law would be too weak.
Indiana has this opportunity to end abortion, and we need to take advantage of it and end abortion, period.
Nancy Chen, CBS News.
The Justice Department has a new webpage offering some help for people impacted by the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade reversal. The department's Reproductive Rights Task Force set up the page today on the DOJ's website. It is their first official action since being established earlier this month to protect abortion rights under federal law. The webpage includes a section called Protecting Access to Reproductive Services. It's for people who have been threatened or discriminated against for seeking an abortion. The site directs them on where to report the threats. They go either to the FBI or the Department of Health and Human Services, depending on the situation. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, are your kids looking for trendy threads as they head back to school? We'll have ways to save as they start the new school year.
And the forecast, while many of you had some high water issues today, this is just the beginning. I'll track what's coming in just a few minutes.